We've peaked at $1.5 billion of business. I'm by education an attorney, but my career has been in the real estate brokerage business. I knew that my personal earnings, they could be multiplied considerably. In the first 2 years, I recruited more than 25 people to the office. 2 years later, we're probably the number one office in the whole area. And when I joined Danbury, we had maybe 80 agents, did $100 million in business. Today we have 380 agents. We've peaked at $1.5 billion of business.
When people talk about Mr. Fruth, what do you hope they say?
I hope they say he was a committed Christian businessman who lived his faith at work, and that was most easily recognizable through the Danbury Treasure Chest. Supports the most needy of kids at the Children's Hospital.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Nothing Fancy. My name is Kevin Salinas, and I'm here with Mr. Lynn Fruth. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking.
First of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down with me, and I'm really excited to pick your brain and hear your journey and your story, with especially with Danbury and see where you see things going.
Okay, glad to see if I can answer some of your questions.
How, first of all, for anybody who wouldn't know who Lynn Fruth is, what would you tell them?
Well, I like to start out by saying I'm a Christian businessman operating primarily out of the Toledo, Ohio region. And I'm by education an attorney, but my career has been in the real estate brokerage business. And I'm a father of 4 and a grandfather of 3.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And born and raised in Toledo?
I was grew up in Tiffin, which is an hour and 15 minutes away, and came to the Toledo through the University of Toledo. I started in 1968, and I found that I liked the community. I saw a great opportunity, and that intuition then proved to be pretty true.
Could you tell us what opportunities you saw at that moment?
Well, I had my best friend went on to Sanford Law School and got a nice gig with a Cleveland law firm, and he liked trying to be a big fish in the big pond. And coming from Tiffin, Toledo was a big pond, and I just saw from my experience at the University of Toledo, I was a student rep on the board of trustees at UT. I was vice president of student government, president of my fraternity, knew a lot of people, kind of even then was kind of summing up what I thought would be competition and opportunities. That stint I had on the board of trustees really put me in contact with some really important community leaders. And I just thought, I felt at home here. So it was easy to stay here after law school.
So you were basically leading from a very young age, from college.
Even that, I think even starting in junior high, I got involved in some leadership things at the YMCA in Tiffin. And, it was, not everyone's born for it. I think I've grown significantly in that area, but it was always something that I enjoyed doing. It just came naturally, quite honestly.
And so what happened after college?
So it's an interesting story. In 1971, my father, who was a small-town real estate broker, was having double cataract surgery. And back then, that was really a big deal. I mean, you had cotton balls in your eyes for 2 weeks. Today you're driving your car 3 hours after the surgery. And he called me up. I said, I need some help in my real estate business this summer. I've signed you up for the real estate test. And, I just need you for the summer. That was the last year you could just go down and take the test. Starting in 1972, you had to start taking real estate classes and complete 120 hours of classroom instruction. So I got in just under the wire. I did it to help my father. Once I helped him that summer, I forgot I even had a real estate license. I started law school, and fast forward, it was going into my last year of law school, I called up my dad for money. I'm sure no one else listening to this podcast has ever called their parents when they were in college for money, but I did. And my father said, you have this real estate license. Maybe you can transfer it to a Toledo broker, sell a house, and I won't have to send you a check every month. I thought that was a real fair proposition. And I did that, and I wasn't as smart as a lot of the people I've hired over the years. I had a fraternity brother that was a part-time real estate agent for a very small company in Waterville, Ohio. I lived in the old West End. This is before the interstate highway system was in. It took 45 minutes for me to drive to Waterville. Wow. I passed 40 real estate offices on the way there because I had an in with this real estate company, which was kind of a no-name company. Nice people, but it wasn't exactly the stellar firm in the region. But I started there. I wasn't an instant success. I don't think I went to many of my law school classes. I was working like 80, 90 hours a week just trying to get started. I had 2 small sales my first 6 months. I made $640. Fortunately, I lived very spartanly. I could live on popcorn and beer, which I did for about 6 months. And my 7th month, I had about 7 or 8 sales. And from there, I said, I really got the bug.
Yeah.
And I can remember a short time later when I shared with my parents, even though I graduated from law school and I passed the bar exam, I said, I really like real estate and I want to pursue that as a career.
So I was going to ask you why, with you having like a law degree, and you said you kind of struggled to get your first sales within the first 6 months. Why'd you stick with real estate and not go back to what you?
Well, it goes to a comment I made earlier. I thought I knew a lot of lawyers in town, a lot of my classmates, that's what they decided to do is practice law. I thought I could be, even then, just sizing up the competition, I thought I could be the best real estate person in the region. I did not think intellectually I had the ability to be the best lawyer. I could be a good lawyer, but not the best lawyer. So that was actually part of my motivation. And I think it's just easier. Lawyering then was much more restrictive. Today you see advertisements for lawyers. You see none of that was permitted back then. You probably had to join a firm. You had to kiss butt, which didn't probably taste very good to me. At least it wouldn't have. And kind of claw your way up the ladder. Real estate is very entrepreneurial. I mean, if you put in the effort and you're halfway smart and get some good advice, you can be very successful. And over the years, I had some good mentors, and I caught some breaks, and I made some breaks for myself. And I think arguably being the owner and CEO of the Danbury Company, most people in my industry would say that is the pinnacle of being in the local market. So I guess that observation I made in the late 70s bore fruit.
I really like how you said, I came in thinking, you sized up the competition and you said I can do better. I respect that because I feel like in order to really take a risk for yourself as a business owner, you have to have that mentality of like, hey, you're not going to come in saying, I can be 3rd or 4th best.
Yeah, there's no salary. I've never had a salary in my life. It's fine. I know some people, they want the guarantee. I always had enough confidence in myself. Now, early on, I was single. I didn't have kids. It's a lot easier to be that way when you don't have more responsibilities. But no, I think if you're good at anything, and if someone is personable, willing to work hard, sales, whether it's real estate or some other product or service, you're in the business of selling roofing jobs, siding jobs, other home improvement jobs, that's sales. Right. So, yeah.
And so you got the bug for real estate. What happens after?
Well, Danbury was the sixth real estate company that I was affiliated with. I was with this Waterville company for about less than a year. And one of the eventful things I can remember that I didn't let deter me, but I thought it was very interesting. We had an agent come into the office, and she was screaming. She said, "We'll never sell another house again." And I looked at her, I said, I just decided I wasn't going to practice law. I'm going to sell real estate. And now this veteran agent coming in screaming like a mad person. He says, "We're never going to sell another house again." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "The rates, they just went to 9%. We'll never sell another house again." For about 25 years of my career, we would have killed to have a 9% rate because they went as high as 19.5%. So it was just crazy. But I was at that original company for about a year. My old manager there went to work for a competing broker. He recruited me to that company. I made some more friends in the industry. I was offered a manager's job at another company, and I was one of 15 owners in 1979 of a company that was kind of a forerunner of the RE/MAX model. It wasn't a franchise, but it was you paid a fee and you received all the commission rather than sharing it with the company. And when I started in 1979, we had runaway inflation, and then a huge recession hit in 1980, and we went from 15 owners down to 1984. 3 of us left. That's how it was very much of a cleansing for the industry, and it's one of those things where, one of the lessons I teach agents coming in is most agents fail in the business, whether it's real estate or any small business, because they're not capitalized enough. There will be downturns, and you may not have those resources to put away for a rainy day early on, but once you have the ability to start saving, you will run into bumps in the road, and having money in reserve is awfully important. And I was lucky. Here again, I wasn't married until 1983, didn't have a child until 1985. So I didn't have the responsibilities during that really tough period of having a family, but I had some reserves because I was fairly successful in my second and third years in the business. So it was interesting. To move the story forward, in 1984, I was approached by the owner of Danbury. That company was founded in 1962. The guy was a real civic leader that owned it, Yale University graduate, very influential in town. They had an opening for a manager's position, and he approached me, and I'd always admired the company. Interesting enough, there was a time where I didn't think I was good enough to work at Danbury because they were just this classy company. Yeah. Everyone wore suit coats and ties, polished shoes, and I didn't have even the budget for some of the stuff that they presented themselves in. But when I was approached, I thought this is going to be a great opportunity. As a throw-in question, I'd already agreed to take the spot, but I said, by the way, when you want to sell the company, I would be interested in buying it. And this was in December of 84. And he said, "Let me check. I've already said I would sell it to one of the other managers." And he approached that other guy, and his name was Dick Baker. And he came back to me the next day, and he said, "Dick says he welcomed me as a business partner." And 10 years later, and that was just on a handshake. Yeah. 10 years later, we bought the company. And
in
96, we closed on it. We entered into the agreement in 95. But, and then Dick was my partner until 2015 when I bought him out. And then I transitioned into, in 2017, I transitioned into selling part of the company to 3 of my younger managers, and then I've completed that purchase. It was an 8-year plan. I completed that purchase in July of 25. So, yeah.
So I want to go back to you said the owner of Danbury at the time approached you. how did you get to meet him? And if you can elaborate on how important networking is in your industry.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd actually met him before he had ever called me, but he knew people. He knew who to ask, who would be a good manager for this office. It was their worst office in the company. They had 5 offices. I almost did individually as much as that whole office did the year before I went there. I mean, it was decimated. I think it was a good office at one time, but so I had not met him before. But we had actually my wife at the time. Her father was a decent friend of the owner, Danbury's. And so, I mean, there was that connection. I'm not sure if that
Had anything
sealed
to
the
do
deal or not.
Yeah.
But, it was a couple-step interview, and, we got along fine. What I discovered was I wasn't there but a month, and I realized that he really wanted me to run the company because it was fairly ineffective. His heart wasn't in it. I mean, he was brilliant, but his heart wasn't in the real estate business. It was elsewhere. He was president of State Board of Education. I mean, it was higher level stuff, not so much business stuff. So
he wasn't in it anymore for
he was into investing more than he was in through the brokerage part of it.
So what was it like going into Danbury and just being in a manager? Do you have to usually work your way up to a manager position, or what did the
no? I think it's probably not the right way. And I've been around a long time, and not only am I familiar with what we've done at Danbury, but I've also been a consultant with a number of companies around the country and evaluating them and how they've done things. So typically, an agent will distinguish themselves as being a good agent, a productive agent, and they'll show maybe good work ethic. And they get approached to be a manager. It would, a lot of the same skills to be a great salesperson aren't the same skills to be a good manager. So that's why there aren't a lot of really great real estate managers out there. The ones that are good come from probably other fields where they've managed something and then acquired sales skills and product knowledge, and then they become a good. Danbury has, their leadership team now has more and better leadership than all the competitors combined. And I mean, but that's something that we build over a period of time.
And that's one of the things I want to talk about here in a little bit. But I want to ask you, at what point did you realize when you were managing, I can grow this into a way bigger operation?
Well, it started right away. I knew that my personal earnings, although they weren't going to be capped, they could be multiplied considerably by increasing the agent count in the office.
Right.
Danbury had this mindset when I came that a manager could only manage 25 or 30 people at a time. Well, I recruited in the first 2 years more than 25 people to the office. And all of a sudden we went from last in the company to the number one office in the company. 2 years later, we're probably the number one office in the whole area.
Wow.
And, I grew it to 50 agents, and then I hired an assistant manager. We never had assistant managers before. It seemed natural to me. I didn't ask for permission. In fact, I actually, speaking of not asking for permission, I was in an office when I first got there on Secor Road in the Westgate area, right by where the expressway is, and where all the hotels are now and the whatever.
Yeah.
I could not turn left on Secor Road to go home because the traffic was so bad.
Yeah.
So I didn't ask for permission. I started looking around for a new office, and I found one on Executive Parkway, and which is right around the corner. And I entered into a lease and everything before I told the owner that I'd done that because I didn't want him to say no.
Right.
Here's another life principle. Sometimes it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. So, but I did that, and I ended up starting out with 1,200 square feet. The building was 16,000 square feet. Eventually, I took over all 16,000 square feet because we grew the operation. And I bought the building after I was a tenant to start with. But, I got up to, I don't know, probably 80, 90 agents in that office. But after 96, I was recruiting for the company. And when I joined Danbury, we had maybe 80 agents, did $100 million in business. Today we have 380 agents, and we've peaked at $1.5 billion in business, over 5,000 sales. So we've grown it considerably. It's nationally recognized. We're one of the top, I'm not sure the latest numbers, but easily one of the top 150 independent, meaning non-franchise companies in the country, and there are 80,000 companies. So it's heavy. It's pretty lofty area to be in.
When you're looking back, what skill do you think had the biggest impact on your success? Was it like leadership? Was it marketing, sales, or like decision making?
Well, that's a great question. It's probably a combination of those, but I had a recruiting plan, and I worked the plan, and I worked a lot of hours. I don't have many regrets. Probably once my children were born, I wish I would have limited myself to a 50-hour week, but
Yeah.
I mean, I would be in the office at 7 in the morning. I'd be the last one to leave at 6. I worked a lot of weekends, but it paid off in building the company. And my kids don't hold it against me. I have a great relationship with all 4 of them. But so I think having a plan, part of the plan was identifying the right agents to fit. Not every productive agent culturally would fit the culture that I wanted. We're very collaborative, which most companies, people that sit next to each other, they view each other as competitors, and in a way they are. That's not our approach. Our top agents, they'll sit in a meeting like this with newer agents and share their best ideas with them on how to be successful. That's our culture, caring for and helping each other. So anyhow, we built a company, and it's recognized regionally, and actually within the people that watch these things nationally, they recognize us that way too.
When you first got in with a company with Danbury, do you know around what it was grossing a year revenue wise?
What it was what?
How much it was making a year?
Oh, well, I know that we had 80 agents, and we did $100 million. Well, we didn't even do $100 million because it was about 2 years after I got there that we did $100 million in sales volume. And then we peaked at 1.5 billion, so it's an increase of 15-fold. Yeah, it's a lot.
What were your biggest expenses in marketing? Like, where were you marketing yourself?
Yeah, that's interesting. When I got into the business, for you young people, it's hard to imagine there was a world before the internet. And there was, amazingly. And the way most real estate was advertised was through print media. And in Toledo, that was the Toledo Blade, and then there was a photo magazine. I think it was called the Homes Book or Homes Guide, where you had a photo of the property and a very short description. The Blade, rarely were there any photos, but there would be these descriptions, and the methodology for acquiring customers back then was you would never provide all the information. You would wet their whistle, make them call to get the rest of the information, and if you were good enough, you would capture their phone number and their name and start building a relationship. So, that was in the 80s. That was the case in the 90s, but in the early 90s, this thing called the internet came along. And I mentioned I was in this peer group with other leading companies from around the country, and we would meet twice a year, and we had a facilitator that was on top of everything. And also at the same time, I was privileged to be one of 20 members of my National Trade Association's strategic planning committee. I was easily the youngest member of that committee. Other members would be like the president of Remax, the president of Century 21, the chief executive of the Ohio Association of Realtors, whatever. And I'm little old Lynn Fruth there. And I can remember it was almost comical. They were all petrified about the internet. One of them even had a speech. It was called "The Lion Coming Over the Hill," and how this lion, the internet, was going to devour the real estate industry, and it did devour the travel industry. If all of a sudden, if you could go on the internet and book at your airline and find out all this hotel information, car rentals, and everything, you could do that. So I'm in a meeting with these guys in Chicago, and I'm saying, I don't think you should be too worried. I said, it'll change some of our marketing, but our value isn't just providing information.
Yeah.
We're a trusted advisor. This is the most expensive transaction these people are going to have in their lifetimes. They don't want to be going online and buying houses and they want somebody to hold their hand and guide them through the transaction.
Yeah.
And but I knew things were going to change. So, I came back to Danbury, and we committed to having a website. We committed to having everyone have an email address.
Yeah.
A short time later, every property had its own website address. Our competitors did a little of that, but we always wanted to be. I hired a director of technology just to train people on. This is before there was CRM programs and everything.
Right.
But we started spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
We were already the market leader. It wasn't necessarily bringing us more business, although, we weren't doing more business. I shouldn't say it wasn't bringing us more business. It was taking business that we probably would have had from the newspaper and this homes guide. And so we actually probably picked up a little market share during that time, but I'm saying we're spending 80% of our marketing budget on the Toledo Blade, and we had done a survey for a whole year. We asked every agent, track every call you get, find out, did they call off a sign, did they call off the homes book, whatever. 4% of our calls came from the Blade, and 80% of our budget's going to the Blade.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but my experience with real estate agents, they're like most people. They don't like change. And to say we're no longer going to be in print, that was a big change.
Yeah.
But we had the statistics, and we gave them the dialogues and said, here's what you say to your seller. And we didn't lose one listing over it. We didn't lose one agent over it. We pulled the plug on the Blade, cold turkey, although the Blade wasn't real happy. I had 2 full pages in every Sunday issue. They wouldn't let me, interestingly enough, take those pages and say, find all the property information you want on every property by going to danbury.com. They wouldn't let me market the site.
That's great.
Yeah. So anyhow, we were happy that was over. The powers to be at the Blade don't really like me even to this day, but that's fine. They're not my clients. But. So anyhow,
So
then we got more involved in technology.
So in the beginning, a lot of companies were scared of the internet. They thought they were going to replace real estate agents.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's some in the real estate business, but the biggest part in real estate was there was a change. People don't like change,
right?
And if you are working for a real estate company where the owners aren't embracing it, so they're not giving you the training, they're not embracing in the tools. You have to navigate all this on your own. Well, it really gave us another competitive advantage. In fact, it was interesting. Some of my competitors, actually my number one competitor at the time, tried to use it against us that we were no longer using print media. They're wasting money there for another 2 or 3 years. We're investing in technology. We've just enhanced it. We're really slick. We're growing agent count, transaction count, and that kind of backfired on them. So, but that was, you could see the future.
Yeah.
And it's even more so now.
I'm curious to know what you saw in the internet at the time that you're like, you know what, let's go all in on this.
Well, the statistics prove the hunch. When you're tracking all the calls,
right,
and they're coming from the website, property websites,
Yeah.
our main website. We're finding that our clients wanted to communicate using email.
Yeah.
You know, some of our competitors didn't provide email for their agents for years. You know, then so you could navigate that space on your own, but you know, you're probably maybe going into Google or back then. I can't remember the name of some of these companies. You know, and they're flooding you with ads instead of just pure email. It was, you know, it wasn't a good situation.
So what's a decision that you made that everyone thought was crazy at the time?
I don't know if they thought it was crazy, but in retrospect, it was a very bold decision to go cold turkey. And man, I'll tell you what, one of the best decisions, maybe the best marketing decision we could have ever made. Just, you know, people hold on to stuff unless you make them just get rid of it. And we just made our people, we were convinced this is where the industry was going. Not just our industry, this is where the world was going. And it proved true. And I mean, we ended up hiring a company out of New York City, I can't remember the name of it, to enhance, you know, now our website had to have just more than property information. We had to present it differently. We had to have other reasons to come to the website. We had to find ways to promote the website, all those things, but that was part of the evolution. But, you know, I hired a director of technology. I mean, there was no need for a director of technology before 1995, I can tell you that. There was no technology to be a director of. And but it's just, and today, I mean, we are just so tech driven.
Right.
It's almost so much so that if the internet goes down, things grind to a halt.
Right.
Right. So we have some backup systems, but no, it's best decision ever made.
I'm curious to know about to hear about what you think about AI now. Do you think do you have the same thought process as you did in '95?
You know, if I will, what I find since I've sold the company is, and I'm devoting most of my attention to other things, including charitable endeavors. One of those is the Mosaic Family Zone, which services the neighborhood close to where we're sitting. That I am not attempting from a business standpoint to stay on that cutting edge, but I will tell you, I've read a lot of articles on AI. I've talked to a lot of people on AI. I've listened to one or two podcasts on AI, and it's transformative. I'm preparing. I have to give 2 talks in the middle of this month. One to probably a group of 60 or 70 people. It's a luncheon talk. And the next morning, it's an annual business meeting for a company that I own, a commercial real estate company. In preparing for those talks, I went to using AI. I went to do a lot of research, and I will tell you, it blows you away. I mean, it's just, one of the things I did was to confirm my decision of 3 years ago to get associated with SVN, which is a national commercial real estate franchise. And I am the majority owner of SVN Ascension Commercial Realty here in Toledo. I plugged in a number of questions for AI on, here's my situation, what's the best decision? I'm glad AI validated the course that I took, but it produced a 40-page report in like a New York second. I would have taken, I mean, a lot of that stuff we did research on, my partner and I did research. I mean, we spent months trying to figure out some of this stuff. It's right there, and it did a better job than those months that we put in. I mean, it's something to be said. I had a meeting with my pastor at my church, and one of the last topics we hit, and we didn't really have enough time to get into it, was AI. And he's a little concerned about it because AI still is subject to programming. And that there are different AI platforms out there. And from what I read, some are more biblically accurate than others, interestingly enough. And one of the things I had to get were biblical citations for the one program I'm doing at the luncheon. And I did that. I said, I want Bible verses for exercising discipline. I want Bible verses for exercising generosity. I want Bible verses for jealousy. I want, and boom, 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 it cranks them out. I mean, I could have found them, but it saved me hours and hours.
Yeah.
In fact, I was kind of fretting. I just did that this week. I was kind of fretting, do I have enough time to prepare? Half hour later, all that anxiety went away because it's just like cranking out all this stuff. So AI has a lot of positive uses. I'm not on top of it enough to know, will it displace certain workers? From the articles I read, every technology revolution displaces some workers, but it creates more jobs than it displaces. And I've heard some very smart people say, let's just say one of your kids is graduating from high school today. They're told you're going to have 8 different careers in your life, and a third of them don't even exist today. And if you think about it, if you go back 20 years ago, what careers didn't exist 20 years ago that exist today? Well, there are a heck of a lot of them.
Right.
So AI will it'll make a lot of things more efficient. It will displace some workers. But there's workers that can learn new skills.
Yeah.
I have a son who's a computer coder for Fidelity, works out of Salt Lake City. He's undergraduate degree, worthless Bachelor of Arts, whatever. On his own dime, he went to a specialized computer coding boot camp in San Francisco. The instructors were these computer coders for the Intels, Microsofts. I mean, these are the instructors.
Yeah.
He paid $17,000 for this 9-week course. Immediately got a great job because people hiring know that they're trained in the real world stuff of back then coding. Well, he's been doing it long enough. He's not worried about AI.
Yeah.
But he said entry level coders will be challenged to meet because AI can learn to code.
Yeah.
It's coding, but it's also strategic planning. What are we trying to accomplish?
Right.
There's a more strategic part to what he does. So he's not concerned, but there's going to be a lot of smart people that could get displaced.
Yeah.
But if they're really smart people, they'll figure out a way to adapt. We always have.
Yeah. And I think that's what people are scared of about AI is it's going to replace all this amount of jobs. But you're right. It's also going to create more jobs. And I never thought about it you just said.
The people that were making bicycles when cars were getting developed, they were worried, oh, gee, people aren't going to buy as many bicycles. They probably went to work at the auto factories.
Right.
The old story, I heard somebody tell the story about back in the 1800s, they used to transport water in wooden buckets. And all of a sudden, hoses came about and plumbing, and they could do all this stuff. And the guys at the wooden bucket, they were petrified. What are we going to do?
Right.
Well, you're going to work and make pipe. You're going to do.
Yeah.
There's a new thing out there that needs workers.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how the AI thing's going to unfold. I do think strategically, I think it's important for this country to be the world leader in AI. So I'm a little disappointed. I get part of it that there are different groups, especially in our Northwest Ohio, that are anti-data centers, which are the backbone of AI. You need these centers. I think the right data center will produce its own energy and recycle its own water,
right,
and provide really good jobs for the people around it. And I think they'll find a way to compensate those immediate neighbors that thought they lived we're going to live forever out in a farm field and never have anything develop. So I'm hoping that we wise up. I'm encouraged that actually our local newspaper, one of the few editorials that I agree with, they are very supportive of AI development.
If you so here's a question: if you own Danbury right now, how would you implement AI?
Well, I would delegate it. I wouldn't be the implementer. And we have just a wonderful leadership team. There's 20 people on it. And they know what's going on in the street. And we've been promoting AI. Some of our agents, I mean, one of the little things you do when you get a listing and you're putting in the multiple listing service, there's a remark section. Well, we had agents 2 years ago that were using early versions of AI to take the information in the listing and write the information. What I call it, to me, it's the first ad they're making because it's the ad that realtors read when they're looking at different properties.
Yeah.
So, and we like to get our agents involved. They're the ones on the street, and some of our best ideas have come from our agents. So we're very collaborative that way. But we would be investing. We are investing. It's not me, but we're investing heavily in AI adaptation because it's not going to go away.
Right. Yeah, so. I want to go back to when you were growing the company. So when you would see competitors like copy your strategies, how would you stay ahead of the curve?
Well, first of all, it's flattery when someone copies what you're doing. Yeah, but you gain market share not by being the copycat. You gain market share by being the innovative leader. So I'd rather have them copy our stuff that grows old than coming up with the next best idea and beating us to it. Yeah, so there aren't any secrets in the business. I mean, we could launch the next best idea tomorrow, and someone will see the merit of it. It might take them a while to figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
But they're going to see it because, their agents are complaining, oh, look at what Danbury's doing.
Yeah.
And the thing I haven't mentioned about real estate agents, they're not contractually bound to stay with any company. You need to provide your value proposition to them every day for them to see it and want to stay with you.
So real estate agents, though, they don't get non-competes?
No.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And in Ohio, a non-compete,
they do it in sales guys for construction.
Well,
I don't.
It's getting harder and harder in Ohio, at least, to enforce a non-compete. It has to be very narrowly construed. So,
When you were growing Danbury, was there a point where did you get to a point where you said, okay, we're not going to go to specific areas, or did you always service all areas of the city?
Well, your real estate license allows you to service anywhere in Ohio. We've always discouraged, the agent that comes in and says, oh, my aunt, she wants to talk to me about selling her house in Chillicothe, 3 hours away. Well, what do you know about Chillicothe? Is it in your aunt's best interests? Or would she be better served by a really knowledgeable agent from Chillicothe? Now, I just was teasing an agent yesterday. I said, Kim, you must have like the broadest marketing reach of anyone in the company. I said, you're up in Jackson, Michigan. You're in Attica, Ohio. I said, there's like a 3-hour drive between those, and she's got strong contacts. She does a great job, but we want agents to take on business in marketing areas that they're familiar with. But you can, with today's technology, really get familiar with an area pretty quickly.
Right.
I had an agent that I had an opportunity up at Devil's Lake, which is a little over an hour from here.
Yeah.
It's not in our MLS, but the right agent with the right information can become a Devil's Lake expert in about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can do that. Geographically, before the internet and everything that we have today, I mean, I've had offices as far out as Wauseon, Delta, Swanton, Monroe. I've closed all of those. I took some of those, and I took a Waterville office and made it a Perrysburg office, which is just one of the top offices in the region now. We're in Worcester, 2.5 hours away, but we basically acquired an office without having to pay for it in Worcester. It was something that fell in our lap. But the current owners are much more aggressive than I am. If the right opportunity in Columbus came to buy a company there, they would do that.
Yeah.
But we built such a strong team they could do that. There are 3 owners that replaced me. I was one owner. And who knows? A year from now, they may be statewide. I don't know.
What systems did you build that helped, that made scaling possible when you first started?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm not sure some that I actually built. Some of the things that I really promoted early on, recruiting was very piecemeal. There were, even on a national level, there wasn't, even in the franchises, Century 21, Keller Williams, there wasn't maybe a really early on good recruiting programs. There was one that an independent provided that I went to Chicago for a week, learned their systems, and I believe in systems. I mean, if you have, if you don't have systems, help you stay on track, provide accountability. Did you do it according to the system? Yeah. So, and I came back and I put my managers through this recruiting track, and that was part of our growth. So I would say early on, making recruiting more systematic. I will tell you what I did then is child's play compared to the way Danbury does it now. I mean, they're just, these new owners, hand it to the generation is your age generation. They're just doing a great job. Yeah. I mean, they see things that I didn't see, and they're quick to jump on it.
So Danbury had systems, but would you say they weren't necessarily enforced, and you came in and enforced them?
No, I think a lot of systems were industry systems, like the multiple listings system. I mean, that's how you process listings. The industry kind of provided a system on how you got to the closing table. I did.
What about, for example, like you said, when you first started, it was one of the worst offices, but you turned it around in 2 years to one of the best offices. I'm sure there had to be a lot of internal work to get to that
I think it was more culture than systems.
Okay.
Absolutely. Staff. I think I had staff that thought that their main reason to be there was to get a paycheck. And no, your main reason to be here is to serve.
Yeah.
Their success, meaning the salespeople's success, is your success.
Right.
My success. We're going to do everything we can do to make them successful. And we're not going to just wait for them to come to us. If you spot something, go to them and say, have you thought about doing this? Or I could do this for you. So I think the biggest change was emphasizing, really developing a recognizable culture. And we did that in the 90s. It was almost like hearing fingernails on chalkboard. It was some of that. I'm a little ADHD, so just sitting in a room and coming up with a mission statement is the kind of stuff that would torture me. Yeah. But culture shapes that statement. And we wanted, who are we? What do we stand for? And we came up with a statement in the 90s that we added 3 words to since. And the 3 words, and have fun, we've added to it because that really is part of our culture. It ought to be in our mission statement. But, so I mentioned before, caring for each other and the community. We started in the 90s something called the Danbury Treasure Chest. It's now a 501c3 foundation. We've raised over $2 billion for the most needy of kids and their families, kids with serious illness at Toledo Children's Hospital. 10 years later, I started the Danbury Community Benefit Program, which isn't about raising money. It's about giving your time back to the community, coaching Little League or delivering Meals on Wheels or whatever.
Yeah.
And COVID set us back a little. Right before COVID, we had 17,000 volunteer hours, helped over 202 local organizations. But that's all culture building.
Yeah.
And it's that culture. I think people want to be part of something bigger than themselves.
Right.
So, and I recognize that early on for myself because I was a volunteer for a lot of things in my 20s and 30s. And I knew the reward. I felt the inner reward that I got from that. So I think that culture building was more important than even going to the internet or coming up with this other strategy. Culture is what keeps, because real estate, an agent could come in today and say, I'm going across the parking lot to the Remax company.
Yeah.
Because they're offering me a bigger commission split.
Yeah.
We don't lose people. We have nice commission splits, but there are competitors who offer our agents more money, but they want to be part of, and our image in the community is that of giving back. And I think our agents want to be associated with a company that has that kind of reputation. So I think the biggest thing that I really focus on was culture building.
I like that. And can you elaborate on what some of the first things that because when you started, Danbury wasn't really giving back to the community, were they? Or they were? No,
they weren't.
Okay. And so was that one of the first things you implemented, starting to give back, or what were the first things that?
I think, actually, I'll give credit to one of our managers in a meeting in the early 90s. So I was at, say, Danbury 6 or 7 years at the time. And he at a leadership team meeting, he says, we ought to do something company-wide to give back to the community.
Yeah.
So we decided, since we were in the real estate business and people moved a lot and they were getting rid of furniture, we'd have a community-wide garage sale.
Where was that?
Well, it was in a building that's no longer has the same use. The Home Builders Association had a building on Talmadge Road across from the mall next to what would be J. Alexander's today.
Okay.
And we had their whole basement. We had it, we had worked with a moving company that would bring the stuff in, and we had the basement filled up. And so it turned out it wasn't a really great idea. I think we made $2,700. I don't know how many man hours of work, but I can tell you, we probably spent over $2,700 going to the chiropractor on the chiropractor bills because of lifting all the stupid old furniture up for helping people out. So the next year, we said, well, we like the idea of coming together, but we're not having another garage sale. So we had some kind of auction. It wasn't.
So you shuffled around a couple.
We shuffled around a couple ideas, but the third year, we said, well, we ought to just fix on a charity that touches people's hearts. And we actually, and that was the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation. And we did that for 1 year, and then they kind of got absorbed by ProMedica and part of the Toledo Children's Hospital. So we said, well, we had different agents. We'd have an agent come and says, well, I'm really involved in this, the Boys and Girls Club, or this or that. And I said, we're sticking with one thing. Yeah. And we decided to stick with Toledo Children's Hospital. And it turned out to be, we decided to have, well, let's have a charity auction, and then let's get donations, and let's get sponsors, and all of a sudden, instead of $2,700 we're making, I peaked I think the peak year was maybe 170,000 made from an auction. Now, a lot of that's sponsors. That's not, or people's would make donations and stuff. And like I said, we've raised over $2 million taking that simple garage sale idea.
Yeah.
And it's interesting enough, the people that handle philanthropy and fundraising at the hospital, they'll have different companies approach them and say, gee, we'd like to do something. We see Danbury's doing this stuff. He says, well, maybe we can tell us how they do that. And then when they find out all the stuff we did to do, they say, oh, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work. Yeah. So, but you know what? It's so gratifying. And people, here again, they want to be part of something bigger. And one of the things on that community benefit program, I'll say to the Kevins that work for me, I'll say, well, just find something you like to do. Well, you have kids that are in junior high. Do they need a coach this summer for their baseball team? Or, what do you like to do?
Yeah.
And that's where you should volunteer. Now, a lot of people don't volunteer to get recognized, so we realize that. But to get them to turn in their hours, we say our top 3 volunteers, we're going to hand out checks. Our top volunteers are going to get a check for $1,000 to give to the charity of their choice. Second place, $500 to the charity of their choice, and third place to the charity of choice. 3 years ago, we wanted to upgrade their reward. Not that we needed to, because we had great participation, but we created the Danbury Community Benefit Hall of Fame. And you've been into my Success Center. Next time you're there, which will probably be sometime in the next month or two, look at the back wall. And they're big photos of all these people that have been in our top 3 over the years. And then we make a new poster for all our offices of people that have made that Hall of Fame, and we post it just to give them recognition and to promote volunteering and giving back to the community.
What's your opinion on, say, a real estate agent who is just kind of like complacent? They're happy with, say, selling one home a year. How do you push them to try to do more for themselves?
Well, if that's all they want to do, we wish them well working for a competitor. There are a lot of agents. Let's just say there are 2,000 members of the Board of Realtors. 2/3 of them do 4 units or less a year. Okay? Now, one of our culture building things I failed to mention is, and we did this early on, we said, you know what, we want to take our top agents on a trip. And we started that, I'm going to guess, probably in the late 80s, very low budget. We took them to Orlando. We stayed in a Comfort Inn that was going through a renovation. It cost $32 a night for the rooms. Now, this is in the 80s, so it'd be more money today. We had a party by the pool where we had coolers and Bud Light beer or something. Well, the reason why I mentioned it today, we've gone international. We've gone to Canada. We've gone to Jamaica. This year we're going to Clearwater Beach, or St. Pete Beach, Clearwater Beach. We'll have a banquet that costs us well over $100 a person. They bring their spouse. It's truly as nice as almost any corporate trip you could do today. But we just wanted to spend time with our top people and show them that we loved them.
Yeah.
And we started out with that. We call it our Achievers Club. And, I think the first year we might have had 20-some people go. I was just looking at the chart in one of our offices. We got 33 people just from that office. And this is the last month to qualify. From one office, 33 people. We'll have over 100 people go on this trip. And it's just, for a lot of them, for some of them, it's the first time they've ever flown, if they're flying.
Yeah.
their newer whatever. Their spouses, and you bring a guest, significant other, spouse, and it's just here again. It's reinforcing our appreciation for our people, reinforcing our culture. So, and no one else does that trip. We're one of the few companies in the country, real estate companies, that will do something like that. So, but it's important to us to do it.
I like that. Yeah. I want to talk about the buying process of when you started buying Danbury, you and your partner at the time.
Right.
What was the I guess the terms? Was it a 10-year like buyout term or how?
Right. So I know the owner made the purchase price very reasonable. It was more important for him. We were renting three buildings from him. It was more important for him to have us as a tenant for 15 years. So we agreed to lease those buildings for 15 years. We agreed on a purchase price that was reasonable, that we thought we could pay off in a 3-year period. We went to Signature Bank and it provide the financials, and they didn't hesitate to loan us the money.
Yeah.
And I think we could have paid off the note probably in a year, or at least a year and a half.
Yeah.
But we took the 3 years because it was nice to put some money aside, which is something I've always encouraged. But, I paid a lot more to buy my partner out in 2015 than we ever paid for the company. And I did that on a 5-year note. Real estate companies, this is one of the things I got into with the gentleman I talked to yesterday. Depending on the size of the company, there are different formulas to use. When you're Danbury size, usually it's a multiple times your EBITDA. EBITDA is your earnings before taxes, insurance, and factors out depreciation. And so
Right.
any accountant will explain EBITDA to a business owner if they don't know already. And that EBITDA number changes based on the market you're in, where the economy's going, maybe some national events. Are there more than one national player looking to expand? We've been in the last 20 years, there's been a huge consolidation in the real estate industry, mostly by not publicly funded, but private investment company funding entities. Yeah. There's a company called Compass. I think it's the number one real estate company in the country today. It didn't exist 10 years ago. Here again, Wall Street money. Yeah. They've been buying leading companies in major markets. The good news I've always said is Toledo's not on their radar screen, or they would try if they couldn't buy me. Now in Toledo, Howard Hanna is in Toledo. They're a Pittsburgh-based company. They're one of the top 5 national companies in the country. They're a big entity. They're really a financial services company. They got Howard Hanna Visa cards. I mean, they do property casualty insurance, mortgage, title insurance. I mean, they do it all. Danbury has done mortgage and title, but no, it's we could have sold to. We've been approached over the years.
Yeah,
I've also bought a number of companies over the years, smaller real estate companies. We started. The first one was one of the better ones. There was a company called Salisbury Real Estate, and they were a mid-sized company at the time, and we bought them. They had 2 offices. Still have. I mean, that was 30 years ago, maybe more than that now. I think about it, and we still have 2 of the agents from that company with us.
Yeah.
I bought a company out of Monroe, Michigan. Didn't turn out to be that great a deal.
Yeah.
But I made money on the real estate that we bought that was part of it. I mentioned offices before in Wasion and Delta and Swanton. That was a company we bought. I just didn't go into those markets.
Yeah.
And made a little money, and also included a Waterville office. And that Waterville office, although it never was a great office, it led me to get into Perrysburg, which just turned into be a great office. So
Yeah.
you just don't know where things are going to go.
What was the purpose behind buying those smaller companies? Just expansion, or was it?
It was expansion,
eliminating
not
the
only
competitor?
geographic, but agent count.
Yeah.
We thought we had, and we do have a great platform and a winning formula. Problem in those markets just wasn't enough business. I mean, we let them do things the right way. I want support staff in an office. Going to be out in Delta with a support staff. I mean, the office doesn't make enough money to pay half of a support staff person. So it just never quite gelled the way we want. And then, in both the Michigan Monroe case and the Fulton County example, the owners that we bought it from, although they had covenants not to compete for a year, after a year they kind of
started their own again. Yeah.
worked against us. So.
Did you keep their names, or did you change it to Danbury?
The Fulton County one, we kept the name, we combined names for a year, and then we dropped their name. So, which is a good thing. We dropped their name. So, we're not part of it. If you drive around the area, you'll notice there's a Danbury National, and that was a deal that my predecessor, before we bought Danbury, he sold the rights to that Danbury, use of that Danbury name. I guess he licensed it to a broker who, it's a one-man band kind of guy that's does a lot of commercial land sales, and you'll see his signs along mostly expressways. So that's Danbury National, not associated with us. So, but
Once you became owner of Danbury, how did you manage multiple branches? How did you manage to do that?
well, I probably could have done it better. I still stayed a manager of what we call the Westgate office, and I did that for a couple of reasons. I built the office. I loved the people, and I just couldn't pull myself away from devoting some of my time to managing that, even though I had brought in an assistant manager who I eventually made a co-manager, who then eventually became the manager, and now she's been replaced by somebody, and she's an assistant manager. She's navigating her future retirement. But I would meet with my business partner. We would have a standing meeting every couple of weeks. We'd have a manager's meeting every couple of weeks. I was almost to a fault, because I liked the model myself when I was a manager. I was very hands-off as an owner.
Yeah.
If I hired you, Kevin, to be a manager in one of my offices, I'm saying, here it is, take and run with it.
Yeah.
Because that's the model I like as a manager.
Yeah.
Well, as it turned out, it wasn't the right model for everyone I hired.
Yeah.
And some of them needed more training than others. And I went through a bunch of different managers over the years. In fact, I still have pictures of, well, this was our leadership team from 1995. No one there. This is the one, and it's just, but it's like a lot of things. There's turnover.
Yeah.
And, but I would have been and I mentioned this peer group that I met with of owners of other real estate companies from around the country we'd meet. They really got on me for still managing once I owned the company. They said, you got to pull yourself out of that. And eventually I did. And it worked well, but there are other dynamics that I won't get into that explain why I held on as long as I did. So
At what?
I'll tell you off the podcast.
At what point do you decide to close? Did you and your partner decide to close offices?
Well, I mean, you look at the bottom line and you look at the trajectory, and usually they're pretty easy decisions. There wasn't a lot of hand wringing or anything. I'd always want to find a plan, like especially I like the Waterville office. I like the core, and that manager grew up and lived in Perrysburg, and we didn't have a Perrysburg office, and Perrysburg's, even when we did this, which was 20-some years ago, was a great market for us. We're doing a lot of business there, and we actually are on our third location in Perrysburg, but each location we grew, and we had to get more space, which is a nice problem to have.
Right.
And now we probably have, I started there with 12 agents in Perrysburg. We probably have 90-some agents in the Perrysburg office today, and it's like the Taj Mahal of offices. It's really a nice facility, and it's in Levis.
Yeah.
Yeah, Levis Commons. So it's a really nice facility. So.
I've had mixed opinions on working with a partner, and it seems like you had a partner for what, 35 years maybe?
30 years,
30 years?
95 to 2015.
2015, yep.
Yeah. So
how was that?
Well, he was my partner it's almost virtuous from a value standpoint. Ethical, just trustworthy. But we had different backgrounds. I grew up middle class, lower middle class, on a farm because my dad wanted my brother and I to bust our butts and work and stuff. It's just, but it was a good training. And my partner grew up in the estate section of Ottawa Hills and went to prep school in New York. Yeah. I went to college not sure how I was going to feed myself, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't have the same worries. So he was a great person, but we were coming from way different places.
Yeah.
And so my advice to anybody is, pick your partners carefully. I didn't get to pick him. It was picked for me.
Yeah.
Pick your partner because it seems so easy. But partners are like marriages. When they don't work out, divorce can be pretty ugly.
Right.
So, I would have liked to purchase my partner's interest out years before. He didn't want to sell.
Yeah.
He didn't have to sell. We were 50-50 partners.
Right.
I didn't blame him. Fire him if he had a good deal. So, but there will be others that were there that whole time that say, well, he was a good partner because he held me back. Because I would see something and say, yeah. And he was the cautious one. Maybe he held me back from something disastrous. I don't know. But he did balance me out, to his credit, and he surely was a good image for the company. He was just a great guy. He still is a great guy. But we just produced a lot different things for the benefit of the company. So, yeah.
What is something that you've learned that has taken you maybe decades to understand?
Yeah, well, and this is something I preach. I preach to my managers. I preach to the new owners of the company who I intentionally mentored for the 5 years transition plan that we had. There's more to life than work. Life balance. I can remember when I started teaching life balance in my Westgate office just to the agents. Instead of, what are you doing for business? They thought I had an accident and hit my head or something. But I had a change of heart.
Yeah.
And I said, no, your health is important. Your family life's important. Your recreational life's important. Your spiritual life's important. we may not be good at advising you, and we're not saying we're going to advise you in all those areas, but we're going to advise you to make those things important. And so I started preaching that among my agents, and then as I expanded as an owner of the company, would teach that company-wide, and I would surely, anybody now, I mean, one of the things I still encourage my 3 owners that have succeeded me, are you taking care of your family? Are you spending enough time, your kids and all these sports teams, are you going to the games? One of the agents that worked for me, who I later got to admire and appreciate, if his son had a golf match or his daughter had a soccer match or whatever, they were actually appointments in his appointment book.
Yeah.
They were just as appointment as meeting somebody who wanted to list their house. And I admire that agent for that. And I would preach that to anybody today. Make your family a priority. Yeah.
I like that. What's one of the biggest mistakes you think entrepreneurs make when they're growing their business?
They're undercapitalized. Most entrepreneurs, 80% of small businesses fail because they do not have the resources to stay in business long enough. I mean, it's, you might say, well, your projections and gee, we'll start breaking even after a year. You can see it just around this facility. Look at the restaurants and bars that have come and gone in just the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, one, they didn't analyze the competition. They thought they had a better mousetrap, but a lot of the bars around here, they're here. The ones that have been here for 20 years, they started out with deeper pockets than ones that lasted 2 years. Resources, capital resources, and then the other thing is just say, you may have miscalculated.
Yeah.
Cut your losses, move on, live to fight another day.
You've mentioned not researching your competition enough. And I really like that because that's one of the things that I do. Well, I did in the very beginning of it's like, okay, let me see who's out there. Let me see. And when I walked into my business, I was like, oh, I can do this way better than my whole competition, right? And can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what tips would you give to an entrepreneur as far as researching their competition?
Well, there's probably a lot of ways today. People, most companies want to brag about everything they have on their websites. So they're doing that. I always learned a lot about other companies, what they're doing behind the scenes by trying to recruit one of their people. And it's amazing how talkative someone can be about where they are. And just a simple question, what do you like best about your company?
Right.
It's an innocent question.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you would hear something that they were doing and say, well, that's interesting. Do we want to do something like that, or do we want to do something to counteract the advantage they might have by doing that? But I was, a lot of real estate is collegial in this town, and a lot of places. I mean, I would meet some of my best friends, better friends, were competitors.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my best friends today owned my number one competitor for a bulk of the time that we competed. He sold his interests, and within 2 years, that company went under, and I picked up 100 and some agents from that company. But he was invited to my wedding. I was invited to his wedding. Same thing for a later competitor. If I have a competitor that calls and wants to talk, absolutely. I don't have a. Here's my business plan. I don't think they could execute it if they saw it. I'm in a Christian CEO group, and I remember I invited a competitor to be in the group, and someone said, "Why would you do that?" Because you're building a relationship with all these other business people. I said, "Well, I come from the position that we live in a world of abundance, not scarcity.
Yeah.
There's plenty for you. There's plenty for me. There's plenty for this competitor. If I can help him out, if I can help the industry out by getting him in this group,
Right.
I'm going to do that. So, so to find out about competitor, I mean, sometimes you just go ask them.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear you. Word on the street, you're doing this. Tell me about that. Who knows? They might just, they're feeling really good about it. They might tell you more than what they should. So, but yeah.
I like what you just said. You can give them the whole business plan, but they're not going to execute. And I really respect that because I have the same mindset. I'm like, for the same reason I don't have any like non-competes or anything. I'm like, someone can go and say, hey, Salinas is doing X, Y, and Z. Good luck.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the only competes I don't believe in salespeople, but if I'm hiring a manager, I'm putting them in a position to build relationships. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to sit out for a year.
Yeah.
But just a year. Sit out for managing or recruiting. They can go sell real estate anywhere. I don't care right away, but you can't recruit my people for a year.
So we've talked about business and technology a little bit. What do you think will never change in business, no matter how much technology evolves?
What will never change? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm an old guy. To me, real estate's still a relational business. In fact, a lot of real estate agents, their business model is I buy leads, and there are a lot of leads out there. You don't know their leads. You hear people like a Sean Hannity or a Glenn Beck. They have these real estate agents that might choice. Well, they're just selling those leads. But everywhere, everyone's trying to capture the lead upstream and sell it back to a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. Our model isn't that. Mm-hmm. We have a program that it's all about relationship building, and it's contact every month with everybody you know in your database, something of substance. If you were a client of mine, I can tell you every January you would get an evaluation of what your home is worth, because it's a value. You get that from your stockbroker. You should get that from your real estate agent because it's probably your most valuable asset you have.
Right.
And a detailed where's it fit in Toledo, Ohio, nationally? What are the trends? I'd like to present that to you at a meeting, face to face, but you're going to get something from me every month to keep me in front of you. Mm-hmm. Could be a print piece, probably not. It's going to be something electronically, but we have something called Lolo, where if I signed you up, you're going to get something. Oh, I can get a $10 pizza from Mike's by presenting this card, Mike's Pizza, or I can get a cup of coffee from the coffee shop down here with a pastry because my agents enrolled me into this. So it's not just something that you don't want to read. There might be some value behind what we're offering every month to our people, but it's all relational. It's not. I don't think that's going to change.
That's something AI can't
Relations
replace.
are relations. If it changes, I don't want to be part of the world. At least that part of it.
So during when you were when you owned Danbury, what other personal and business ventures did you get into while you were also?
Yeah. So going back to when we had to pay for both the internet and print, I said, how are we going to do this? And we actually got into the title insurance business and the mortgage lending business in the 90s. And they're both actually more lucrative than the real estate brokerage business. I could, for a closed title order, I'd make X dollars. Mortgage, I'd make double X dollars. What I'd make from the brokerage on that would be half of X dollars. Wow. I mean, it's just, so we got into that business. I was actually the only real estate company in the country to have a joint venture and in Toledo, I had a joint venture with Port Lawrence Title and Chicago Title. Each was owned by Port Lawrence by First American and Chicago Title by Fidelity. They're the number one and number two title companies nationally, and they hate each other. They're absolute fierce competitors. I brought them together in a joint venture with my company. People, I go to national things. What? Can you explain how you did this? I said, I didn't think much about it at the time. I guess it,
Yeah, how did you
guess
do
it
that?
was a miracle. And it worked out pretty well for a number of years. So, but, you know, so we're in title insurance, we're in mortgage. I had never really took off, a property casualty joint venture with a nationwide insurance agent. Never really took off like I would. And I'm not familiar with where one of them has. Or like this Hannah that I mentioned, they have a great property and casualty business themselves. It's not a joint venture. You know, we've had nice working relationships with home warranty companies. We don't own them, but we promote them, and we have a financial return for that. A moving and storage company we've worked with. And more of the return there is they support our charity.
Right.
You know, they sponsor events, things like that. So, but you know,
I'm curious to know how you got those two competitors together, though. Was it like a phone call? Did you say, hey, you know, this is what's going on?
Well, we approached 4 companies in town and said, we're committed to having a joint venture in title insurance. Are you interested? 2 of them, one, the owner of which was in both of my weddings, said no. Okay, fine, it's business. Whatever.
Right.
But the other 2, both of them really wanted that joint venture. We're the number 1 real estate company. They knew that our people were loyal. They trusted us. They would probably do as we ask, or at least a large portion of them would. And they both wanted in. And they both made proposals. And they were both attractive proposals for us. And I said to my partner, that I've referred to before, I said, I wonder if they would each be willing, they could each have a quarter of the company, we would have half of the company, and if we could find a way to make that work, they would compete for the business within our entity. We wouldn't guarantee either one of them any business. They'd have to, and our clients benefit, our agents benefit because they're competing for the business. And they agreed to it. Wow. And they agreed to it. We did it for years. And then one of them, their parent company, started getting involved in a lot of lawsuits because they weren't running other joint ventures outside of our market the right way. I was there was one area of the law that I was very wired into, and I was kind of like our compliance officer. It's like a lot of things, you're going to do it, you have to do it the right way, and we were doing it the right way. But they had to bow out of the venture, which was fine. We still had our partner in place.
Yeah.
And that worked pretty well until COVID came, and a lot of people, especially large corporations, made a lot of dumb decisions, and they cut back way too soon on staffing, and they brought the staffing. I'm not sure they ever returned the staffing to the level it should, and it just all of a sudden, horrible customer service. Our name's on it. We can't do it, so we severed the relationship and went without.
Wow.
Rather than have the wrong partner, because it was our name on it.
I want to talk about 2 things, 2008 and then COVID.
Yes.
How did you face those times?
Yeah. So, you know, it's funny. 2008, I'll preface it by saying that for the listeners here, the real estate industry and market was like running crazy. in 2005, 6, and 7. In fact, I rushed down to Florida to buy a house in May of 2007 because it was such a feeding frenzy. It was like, oh, we're going to run out of houses to ever buy in Florida. So I probably overpaid. And then like the next month, the market takes a sudden dive, So a lot of people got crushed in 2000, late 7, 8, and 9. We didn't. We got hit a little.
Right.
But like most downturns, I measure success in downturns by, did I increase my market share? We increase our market share. I focus on recruiting others. If people aren't doing as much business as they normally would do, they become unhappy. Mm-hmm. It's when they're unhappy that they make a move, and we were able to pick up agents. So we did a little less business, but we gained market share. The industry did a lot less business, but we didn't because we picked up other people, and we grew. So, so much so that we were approached by a national company in 2011. We just had a great 2010. Mm-hmm. And they were offering to do this super deal. And because we had such good numbers in 10, we at least listened to them.
Yeah.
But I couldn't pull the plug and do something. My heart wasn't in it, so.
When you first heard the news of like the recession, did you see it coming? Did you panic at all? Did you worry? Were you like, okay, I'm going to get a plan B?
I'll take you back to the story of that first company that I went to work for in Waterville, and the lady that came in screaming, "We'll never sell another house again," because the rates went to 9%. And I will tell you, rates were way above 9% for like the next 20 years, and we sold a lot of houses. I don't know. I'm not a panic type person.
Yeah.
I just let my competitors panic. Panic changes my friend. This is one of our slogans in my leadership team. Change is our friend. Disruption's our friend. Because we can handle change. We have enough computing power here to adapt the right way. Those that don't have what we have here, when change comes, change in market, it'll hurt them, and it's not going to hurt us. We might take a hit, but we're going to come out on the other end stronger and better. And so 8 didn't bother me at all. COVID was interesting because I'd already entered into a sales agreement for the company.
Yeah.
Because COVID came in
2020,
right?
Yeah,
but
I
19.
think, but the economy was shut down in February,
So so I moved to Florida in 2018 because, among other reasons, one, I like Florida, but I thought it would help my family situation better, a little fresh start. So I'm down in Florida and bought a really nice house. Love the house. In June of 18. And in January of 19, my wife tells me that we're getting divorced. Okay. So I'm there in 19. And I'm struggling a little, but I know only people from my church really. But I'm getting to know some other people. And I can remember, I think it was March 5th, 2005. I get a call from my lawyer, the divorce is final. And this is when the news about COVID. I didn't go back to Toledo for the hearing because I have guys visiting me to play golf. Yeah. And that week, so it wasn't that day, that was a Monday. Divorce is final, COVID strikes. These guys are on like the last flight out of Fort Myers. Before everything gets grounded, the guys are staying with me. And then for the next year, I'm glad I was in Florida.
Yeah.
Because you could be outside and do a lot of different things. But COVID was different because I was a 25% owner in 2020. And I was just so proud of my young other owners. I felt like, oh, well, that training, that's paid off because, I mean, we were on the phone every day together. We got out in front of it. No one panicked. Nice. We assured everybody. We were creative, workarounds, how to do this, that, and the other thing. The only problem we had was the state of Michigan. They were real jerks.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything. I mean, I don't think we could even have somebody go into the office by themselves. I mean, I can't remember, but it was so ridiculous. Fortunately, 95% of our business is in Ohio. And but here again, we came out of COVID stronger, and our people appreciated it. You know, maybe you asked me a question earlier, what would I emphasize? I don't think you can over-communicate. And I shared that with a gentleman on a call yesterday. You're running a business, you have clients, you cannot over-communicate. And you need to communicate not in your favorite style. You need to communicate in a style that they prefer. I had a guy early in my career, he didn't want to talk to me on the phone. He wanted me to leave a message on his answer machine, which none of you know what an answer machine is. But it was a little device that you left messages on, and then someone would come back and they push a button and hear what the message was. But he was an engineer. He didn't want to talk on the phone. He wanted, but you have to communicate effectively. That means in a way that resonates with whom you're trying to communicate.
Yeah, I like that because we have the same method where we ask homeowners, would you prefer text, email, or and just some people just don't want to talk on the phone. They just like to text, or they just like to email, or whatever the case.
I won't answer the phone if you're not in my address book. If you leave a message, I'll get back with you. If you know me, my kids, they don't want to answer my phone calls. I have to text them.
Yeah,
I text them and say I left you a message on your voicemail on your phone because I'm a slow texter.
Yeah.
Listen to your voicemail.
In that event of COVID, did you send out a company email to kind of cool everybody down? Was everybody, or no? Was that not needed?
We left bulk emails. We had a company-wide voicemail at the time. You could leave a voicemail message. We might even send snail mail for all I know. No, we're always ahead of it. Yeah. I mean, multiple. You can't over communicate in a time of crisis. And somewhere along the line, I studied crisis management, and I don't know if it was Bear Aspirin or Tylenol, one of those, but someone had tampered with their packaging. It was in Chicago, and I think some people died. 2 or 3 people died. I don't know, whoever the company was, they got on it right away. National recall, everything, every store off the shelves. Well, as it turned out, there was only one store in Chicago, and there were 5 things that had been contaminated. But they saved their reputation because they did it right.
Yeah.
And they did it immediately. They didn't hesitate.
Yeah.
They did it. And you see today, every once in a while you look at the news and say, they didn't do it right.
Yeah.
They waited too long. Why? You see it in government. What? Get out in front of it. So, you have to get out in front of it.
So you own now, did you start it or buy a new realty commercial?
A partner and I started a commercial real estate company. It's called SVN. Ascension Commercial Realty. SVN's a national franchise.
So my question is, you just sold Danbury. Why start something else?
Well, I started it 3 years before my final sale of Danbury because I knew that I wanted to be engaged.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a young guy, but mentally I feel young. So, and physically, I'm in still great shape. And no,
Do you think Danbury?
to me, work, this isn't work. What I do the last 30 years isn't work.
right?
It's fun. It's engaging. I love people. I love helping people. You know, most of my efforts in my commercial real estate company, I'm the CEO, the Chief Encouragement Officer. No, that's what I'm known as, the Chief Encouragement Officer. I like being an encouragement officer. And I've been blessed from an income standpoint over the years. And, you know, my goal is to take the bulk of the income I make from this endeavor. And there's a lot of worthy causes out there. You and I share one of those. Yeah.
Now I want to talk about legacy. When people talk about Mr. Fruth in, say, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, what do you hope they say?
I hope they say he was a committed Christian businessman who lived his faith at work, and that was both easily recognizable through lasting endeavors like the Danbury Treasure Chest that supports the most needy of kids at Toledo Children's Hospital, the Danbury Community Benefit Program that has racked up tens of thousands of hours of giving back to the community. And he produced a number of leaders that have done wonderful things in their careers and in the world at large and in their families. Yeah.
What are you most proud of?
I think the culture, you know, we have a lot of vendors who call on competitors, not just local but national competitors. And they aren't, I'm trying to think the right expression I could say for publication, but you know, they're not just kissing up to gain favor. They say that your company's out is very different and very outstanding in what it stands for.
Yeah.
He says, in fact, we just had the current owners just sold our interest in our title company. We owned a minority interest, almost 50% interest in Perrysburg Title. And we just sold that to a different entity out of Cleveland. And it's a different model and everything. But that was a couple of months ago. And I just ran into the guy from Cleveland. He had taken out that whole staff. They retained all the staff. I ran into him at the Mud Hens game last week. And he says, I want to just tell you something. We were pretty confident that this would be really a smooth transition. He says, your people are remarkable. He says, it's so obvious that they trust you and Danbury. And this has been like we've done this numerous times around the country. And this is like the best one we've ever had. But it's a very special company. And it's easy for me to say, talk to our people.
Yeah.
We're a top workplace in Toledo, named that. We're in the big category now, 300 and more employees. But when we were in the mid-sized company, we were the top company, best whatever workplace in Toledo. And we get all these other awards, and I'm not into awards so much I can't remember the name of these things, Business of Excellence Award, whatever. You know, so we have those. So we're recognized in the community that way. And just talk to any of our people. I mean, that's how you get those awards. They don't come to us and say, what do you think about yourself? Right. They come to our people and say, tell us about. Tell us about. So,
it's really cool that you built that culture. You know, I'm sure it took a long time, but it's something someone like me just looks up to, because it's like, you know, that's what I work on in my business, is just having a really fun work culture. So I'm honored to have you sitting down and hearing your story, and it's inspiring, honestly.
Well, I hope it inspires not only you, but your viewers as well. So,
What if you could give if you could give every entrepreneur in Toledo one piece of advice, what would it be?
well, if you think you want your own business, you better feel it in your heart. You better have some resources to back it up, yours or somebody who's committed to helping you back it up, and give it in time. And just understand that culture is the glue that's going to keep whatever enterprise you build together. It will distinguish you from your competitors.
Now, last couple of questions before we wrap up. And you can answer these short answers, long, however you want, okay? One book everyone should read.
Besides the Bible, oh boy, there are a lot of good books out there. I like reading Think and Grow Rich early on. That was a good book. Later in life, there's a book called Halftime. The same author, I think, has written a follow-up book. I'm not sure if it's called End Zone or not, but it's the idea of what's after career. Those are all good books. I like Simon Sinek. He's a great speaker and author. His book is Knowing Your Why. I think from a business standpoint, your previous question really goes to that. Know your why. Why are you wanting to do this? Because once you get doors slammed in your face, you got to go back to why am I doing this?
Yep.
So you have to know your why. Yeah, that's another good book.
Just to elaborate, what's the biggest business mistake is?
Well, I think it's the things we've been talking about. It's, not knowing your why. We'll start where we just left off. Not having the resources to sustain the growth and implementation of whatever it is you want to accomplish.
Would you say not having a culture?
Culture's what's going to hold it together. So those three things. Know your why, have the resources, and develop a winning culture.
What's your most underrated business skill?
I'm not sure. I've been rated. I don't personally rate myself. And, most people only share the compliments. They don't say, oh, by the way, you're horrible at this or that. I did early on have an agent, and I was a horrible manager when I started. She bought me the book, I think it's 60-minute manager. I think that's what it was, implying that the book is about not listening. I've had to develop the skill of being a good listener. So it didn't come naturally.
I'm still working on that.
Well, it's an acquired skill. I don't know many people that are born listeners. So,
right.
Yeah.
And last question I have for you is, what's Toledo's biggest opportunity right now?
Well, I think its biggest opportunity is I think we're poised to have a much more positive mindset. Toledo's, since 1968 when I came here to go to school, Toledo's never held itself in a high enough regard. So I think some things are happening that I think are moving the needle in that way. So, yeah.
Well, Lynn, Fruth, thank you very much for sitting down with me again. And I know I'm leaving here inspired. So thank you. And I know anybody who watches this is going to be very inspired.
I appreciate that, Kevin. And thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.